Welcome back to another reading, folks. Today I'm taking a look at Keffals, and I've got a couple of questions, just a few questions about who she is as a person, what we as her audience, or as an audience, maybe not her audience per se, but what we as an audience can learn from her mistakes. And so I am using the 7th Sphere Lenormand. Packaging is kind of faded because I've had this for a few years by now, but these are Lenormand cards that they can be pretty plain spoken and blunt, so I thought they would be the best for really revealing the truth in a situation. Okay, so my first question is, who is Keffals really, or Clara? Let's say Clara. Who is Clara really when it's just her with her wife behind closed doors? There's nobody watching. I've laid her cards out in a 9x9 spread, also known as a portrait spread, or I should say a 3x3 spread with 9 cards. It's kind of reveals a snapshot into who a person is right as I'm asking the question, okay? Or reveals the truth of a situation, like a snapshot of a situation right as it's happening. I hope I'm making sense. The central theme is a burden. This is cross. This is something that is deeply weighing. So there's something, I can see how the current crisis going on, ongoing crisis, is a deep burden on her. This lands on the house of the tree, which talks to me about something that's been growing for some time and continues to grow. It, in fact, shows no sign of stopping. Alongside the cross as the central theme, you've got bouquet, which is social stuff, social media, quite literally. But it's interesting. It lands on the house of the house, which is what goes on behind closed doors. It's what people don't necessarily see very clearly. So these are things coming out from the woodwork that were once in private. And we can kind of see how that's playing out right now. That kind of energy appears in the past. But there's more to this. The social stuff is a deep burden, but because there are lies being spread about this particular situation that Clara finds herself in right now. That's not to say that she hasn't done some real damage on her own, that she's fucked up some things on her own, and that she doesn't owe a lot of people apologies. But there are some lies here that people don't necessarily see, that she has no choice but to look at because she knows a whole lot more about the situation that she's not talking about. I'll be honest, I haven't seen whether she's uploaded or posted anywhere lately. I've not paid attention to that kind of thing. I do see that with the snake landing on top of the house of the clouds, that's people not seeing clearly. Things have been blurred. The lines, the truth has been blurred, basically. This is also about a two-faced friend, or a few two-faced friends who told Clara one thing and have turned around and done some other things behind her back. These are people who Clara knows. They might even be confidants, especially because the bouquet lands on the house of the house, which might mean very close chosen family, for instance, very close friends. These are people who have backstabbed Clara for money, for clout, for power, for fame, for inspiration, for projects. Oh, someone might want to make like a false documentary about her based on these lies. And people don't particularly care about the truth so long as it's sensational, is what I'm getting, okay? That's the feeling that I'm getting from this particular spread. I'm taking a look at the corner cards for this particular portrait spread. Up top, we have a cycle of People who take leadership positions who have no right to them. And I'll talk in more detail about why these people who take leadership positions don't deserve them. But these are people who exhibit traditionally masculine traits. Now, just like with tarot and Lenormand, there is no gender, or more recently, traditionally, yes, there was quite a bit of gender associated with Lenormand. This is animus because it's meant to be understood in a much more expansive context. We all exhibit our own balances of what's traditionally considered masculine and feminine, right? All of that is attached to ego and to identity. But mostly this indicates the kind of people with whom Keffals associates with. Pretty consistently over her lifetime, she has associated with often masculine people who have led her astray, who have led her into destructive circumstances because she trusted the wrong people. There's still a lot that she needs to work on within herself. And when she does, she's going to be able to more easily filter those kinds of people out. Unfortunately, that takes experience. If family didn't layer in that kind of knowledge when a kid is growing up, that kid is going to have to learn to practice that kind of intuition, and that's difficult. I don't feel like Keffals grew up with those kinds of filters in place. Maybe she did. I'm not sure. Okay. But definitely she consistently associates with destructive people who do attention-grabbing, powerful things. These cards are in the same row, on the same horizontal row, okay? This is also known as her conscious position, meaning she's perfectly aware right now. In this current snapshot, she's perfectly aware that she's made some really bad commitments to people who have no right to be in her life. It's not that she has not made mistakes. She has, and she's willing to admit that and own up to them. But she is really horrified at how the truth has been obfuscated, has been hidden from the public. She didn't get ahead of the narrative. Somebody else did. And now she's playing catch up, basically. Something else I noticed is that animus appears in a diagonal pointing towards the past, which talks to me about past influences that make the present situation more of a challenge. So this is something that I feel like she grew up learning to be loyal to people who didn't have her best interests at heart. Authority figures specifically, people that she thought of as role models, maybe not authority figures specifically, but as role models. She's always had a difficult relationship with those kinds of people, and to this day, those kinds of habits, those relationship kind of habits, really burden her. And she may not be consciously aware of this. She might be working on this in therapy. She might be consciously working on this. But I don't know that she is, per se. There's a lot of information in portrait spreads. I'm looking at her vertical column that indicates her past. I've got ring, I've got bouquet, and I've got dog. She's been loyal to these people in the social sphere now for quite some time, and it's been a pretty tight commitment. These are people who have quite a bit of information on her, and they're able to construct enough of a narrative that has enough of the truth and enough of a lie to make it seem ultra plausible to even people who feel like they know Keffals pretty well. They're pretty devious people, right? Something that's not so traditionally associated with the Lenormand snake is the word wisdom. This is a very intelligent, a decently intelligent individual who knows how to work social networks in such a way that they turn overnight against somebody who may or may not deserve it. Framing is a word that just popped into mind from Spirit. Yep. And again, I'm not saying that Keffals hasn't done something wrong. I think that she knows that she's done something wrong, at least a few things wrong. But she doesn't deserve the narrative that's being spun against her, is what I'm seeing. A web of lies. The next vertical column is her present reality. That's mice, that's burden, and that's rider. Pretty much consistently, she's getting more and more destructive news. Basically, destructive, like notifications that suck. That's like people ending a partnership or a sponsorship with her. That's like, I don't know, interviews being canceled. Like, people don't want to be around her. This also has to do with friends. This is just a shitty run of luck. And it's not something that she's talking about right now. People don't see this. I think it's just she and her wife who are handling this right now. And like, it's pretty much them and like one or two very, very close family members or friends. Could be chosen family who are working through this together. But right now, this is a pretty destructive time period in their life. Not deservedly so, is what Spirit is saying. Okay. That indeed, the truth has been hidden. Transferred over to something else. So that something else is a lie-based situation, but it's got the veneer of truth. But this situation is based in truth, but it has the veneer of a lie. Okay. Well, something you need to know in the future is that she is thinking about how she's going to talk about this, okay? She's thinking about how she's going to put, this is the order the cards are in, she's looking at plans on how to end these particular lies that these people, that this person have spread. Excuse me. This is something that she plans to do, and I don't know how far into the future this is going to be. I don't feel like she wants to wait long. I think just in this present moment that she's in a very low place right now. She doesn't know who to trust. She feels incredibly hurt, incredibly backstabbed and betrayed right now. This is a 10 of Wands, 10 of Swords kind of moment for her. It's hard. She feels attacked because, mostly because of her identity as a trans woman, for instance. It's hard. She feels like the timing is kind of off because she was supposed to enjoy like Pride season or something associated with it, and something got canceled as a result of this. It's more than ruined her day, it's ruined her year. Okay. Spirit is indicating that we need to move on. My next question has to do with what major life lessons is she meant to learn in this lifetime, okay? I'm going to shuffle my cards and I'll be right back. So I've laid her cards out in a 7-card Lenormand spread. Her central theme is whip, and that's about punishment, public flogging, and it's interesting that I say public flogging. These cards appear in this particular order. So this is about loyalty, being punishing, especially behind the scenes in private for Clara. When people act up, when people use her as a way to boost themselves in power, then it is deeply punishing for her. And this is what she's meant to learn in this lifetime, is to be cautious of whom she is loyal to. It's a hard lesson to learn. The first 3 cards, those were her central cards, by the way. The whip is the central theme. As long as she's loyal to people who she has no business being loyal to, this is going to continue to be a shitty experience for her. Trusting other people is that is. The first 3 cards are cross, anchor, and dog. That's about loyalty, sticking around, following you. You're left holding the bag while everybody runs away. She stays loyal while everyone just uses her. Unfortunately, I feel like she's someone who has learned to stay loyal to people who hurt her, who use her. I feel like that's a habit that she's been repeating from childhood in order to get people to stick around. That might be a Chiron wound that she carries around within her. And to be fair, we all have Chiron wounds in our astrological charts. Please take a look at Chiron wounds. I've done a video on my channel about Chiron wounds, but there's something that everybody has, and there's community and understanding that everyone has Chiron wounds. But first, we need to be aware of them. One of her wounds might be in connecting, like say for instance, if she has Chiron and Aries, that's about having a deep wound where it connects with other people. Often we feel like we don't matter with let's say for instance a Chiron and Aries. We don't feel like we don't matter to people when people's attention is deeply important to us, and that's just for instance. This may have to do with loyalty. Her Chiron wound has to do with loyalty and how it's just not returned, and that might be a deep fear that keeps getting exploited over and over again whenever she tries to connect with people that she thinks that she vibes with, but in fact they're there to use her. It's a difficult lesson to learn, but she needs to learn to release loyalty to people who no longer serve her, and in that case she will start to release the burden that it means to be carrying those people around when they have no loyalty to you. Now, the trauma associated with all of that is going to be a different ballgame altogether, but we'll talk about that possibly in just a second. Maybe not. Maybe that's for another reading. The last 3 cards associated with this particular reading is Garden, Scythe, and Ring. So something to do with the public is going to have to come to a very sudden end. It's just going to have to stop when it comes to how she connects to others. It might be a very public end to a cycle where she says, I'm not going to connect to these kinds of people anymore. I'm going to be a solo creator, no more collaboration. No more, I don't know. She may choose not to work with anybody anymore. She might choose to leave the sphere that her former friends, co-workers, whatever those may be, colleagues, she might choose to leave those spheres entirely and just do something new and different. But definitely I see her as someone who's going to have to end that cycle in the future if she's to grow into her best and her highest good. That's going to be hard work. Ending cycles. Chopping something into a sudden end. It's like a public break with somebody talking about what they've done, what in their shitty past they're trying to conceal from others. She might not tell the whole story soon, but I feel like she wants to plan for that sooner rather than later. This was deeply hurtful, and I feel like each time she experiences these kinds of betrayals, she learns the lesson. It's a little bit harder each time, right? Okay. My next question. It's what can the audience learn from Keffals' mistakes with the donated money, since that is... There are some things that have been misconstrued, heavily misconstrued, is what I'm getting with Spirit. So they're going to talk to us about the lessons that we should learn from the story, and maybe not specifically attached to how the donated money was used, okay? I'm going to shuffle and I'll be right back. Well, I guess Spirit wants to answer more about what we should know about this situation as opposed to what we should learn about it. So the middle 3 cards are Rider, and by the way, this is a 7-card spread. Rider, Snake is the central theme, and Scythe. What should we know about this current situation is that it is much more based in lies and half-truths and stretched truths than it is in, like, this is the true account. In the future, what we need to know is that these lies are going to be busted. We're going to get quite a bit of shocking news in relationship to these lies and rumors that have been spread around in a way that has smeared her name. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it's a smear in the name of clout, but also it's related to that you factor when it comes to her identity as a trans woman. It's transphobia, basically, that at the base of all of this. But they're leaning, whoever built these rumors and released them, built these lies and released them, they feel like they can hide behind a couple of layers in order to conceal their transphobia. And these are the first 3 cards. In the future, we're going to hear about what went on behind closed doors and what happened repeatedly behind closed doors when it came to Clara's closest friends who have spread some information about her that had no business being out there. Utter fabrications in many cases, but half-truths, stretched truths in other cases. Extremely destructive. But here's the thing, in the future, the truth is going to come out. It will be unburied. It will be exhumed, so to speak. Someone's going to do the research. Someone's going to do the find the necessary background information into what happened, and they're going to be able to expose to the public the lies that occurred. Now, some people are just flat out not going to choose to see this because clouds lands on the house of the snake. And remember earlier that snake landed on the house of the clouds in my first question. So a lot of people are going to choose not to see just because they flat don't want to. But for a lot of people, this is going to be an end to how they perceive these people who spread around these lies for the sake of their power, for clout, for money, for their merchandise line, whatever the case may be. Something that's been growing about these particular lies and rumors is going to be put to death, basically. A sudden end. And, it's just going to be tough. You know, I feel like I read about something similar about Vaush a while back. I saw lies and rumors about his sex life being spread around, his sex life in the past. And they were specifically meant to tear him down and give clout and fame to that person who is spreading that information around. It's still on my channel. Take a look at it if you're interested. Otherwise, that's it from me with this particular situation. I look forward to the truth when it comes out. I'm anxious to hear her side of the story, and I'd like to see everybody reach their best and their highest good, regardless of whether they were the victim of the rumors and the lies, or whether they were the ones who created the rumors and lies. I hope that everybody reaches their best and their highest good. And that's all from me. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for watching.